Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the world of cyber chaos. We're going to break down 4 of the most important cyber attacks in recent memory. And in doing that, we're going to uncover what they all have in common and reveal a pretty shocking vulnerability that's right at the heart of our modern connected world.
So, what does a hospital in the UK, a nuclear facility in Iran, and, say, your Facebook profile all have in common? I know, it sounds like the beginning of a really weird joke, right? They seem like they're from completely different worlds, but they are all linked by one hidden threat, a common vulnerability that's been used with some truly devastating results. And by the end of this, you'll see exactly what that connection is.
Okay, so let's meet our first attacker, the digital hostage taker. Back in 2017, the world got a terrifying lesson in this with the WannaCry ransomware attack. Now, this wasn't some subtle, sneaky break-in. Oh no, this was a digital smash and grab, and it happened on a global scale. The speed was just mind-blowing. Imagine this. You show up to a hospital for an operation only to find that every single computer screen is locked, showing a ransom node. Well, that's exactly what happened across the UK's National Health Service. They had to cancel thousands of appointments. This wasn't just some inconvenience, it was a direct threat to people's health and safety. And it spread like wildfire to banks, railways, and universities all over the world in just a few hours.
So how did this thing actually work? Well, what's so wild is how brutally simple and effective it was. It all started with a stolen cyber weapon, an NSA exploit called Eternal Blue. You can think of it like a skeleton key for a very specific vulnerability in Microsoft Windows. Once it unlocked one machine, WannaCry acted like a worm, spreading all by itself to every other vulnerable computer it could find on the network. Then, bam! It used super powerful encryption to lock up every file and flashed a simple demand: pay up in Bitcoin or you'll never see your data again.
And the price tag for that simple, brutal attack? A staggering $4 billion. And that number covers everything: lost business, recovery costs, and just the sheer chaos it caused for critical services around the world. It was a massive wake-up call that a few lines of code could literally hold the global economy hostage.
All right, let's move on to our next type of attacker, the data thieves. Now, these guys aren't about extortion. They're more like digital burglars. And what they want is the most valuable asset of the 21st century: your personal data. We're going to look at 2 huge cases here: the breaches at Equifax and Facebook, which really show how different mistakes can lead to the same disaster.
So this is really the key to understanding what happened. For Equifax, it was tragically simple. Attackers found a single, well-known weak spot in some web software. A fix, a patch, had been available for 2 whole months, but Equifax, they just never installed it. It's kind of like leaving your front door not just unlocked, but wide open. Facebook's breach, on the other hand, was way more complex. Hackers cleverly strung together 3 smaller, unknown bugs in the View As feature to create one giant security hole. That's what let them steal the digital keys to millions of accounts. So you have one failure of basic housekeeping and another of really complex code.
And for Equifax, this wasn't just data. We're talking about the private, sensitive information of 147 million people. Think about it: names, social security numbers, birth dates, addresses, the very building blocks of your financial identity, all stolen because a simple software update was ignored. The scale is just staggering.
Now for our third attacker, and this one is completely different. This isn't about money, it's not about stealing personal data. This is about espionage, it's about sabotage. Stuxnet wasn't just a crime, it was an act of cyber warfare. Many believe it was the world's first true digital weapon.
To really get Stuxnet's power, you have to understand the concept of a zero-day exploit. Imagine you have a secret key that can open a type of lock that nobody else in the world even knows exists. There's no defense for it, because why would you build a defense for a flaw you don't know about? Well, Stuxnet didn't have just one of these secret keys, it had 4 of them, which made it practically unstoppable.
This timeline just perfectly illustrates how genius the attack was. Its target was an Iranian nuclear facility, which was a secure digital island, completely cut off from the internet. It was air-gapped. So, how do you get in? With infected USB drives. So simple. Once inside, it used those zero-day exploits to take over. But it wasn't there to steal data. It hunted for very specific industrial computers that controlled the uranium centrifuge. And then, it began its real mission: to subtly make them spin too fast, while at the same time playing a recording of everything as normal data back to the human operators.
I mean, just think about the level of deception here.
For months, engineers were sitting at their consoles, looking at screens that told them everything was perfectly fine, all systems were green. They had no idea that just a few feet away, chaos was unfolding.
And that was the punchline. Stuxnet's code reached out from the digital world and caused real physical destruction in our world. It literally tore apart over 1,000 centrifuges from the inside out, sending back Iran's nuclear program by years. This was the moment that code officially became a weapon.
So, okay, we have a hostage taker, data thieves, and a nation-state weapon. 3 totally different attacks with 3 totally different goals. But remember that question from the beginning? What connects them all? It's not the tech. It's something, well, something far more human.
And here it is. This is the big takeaway. The most sophisticated attacks in history were often made possible by the most basic of failures. WannaCry and Equifax both happened because of ignored software updates. Facebook's breach came down to flawed logic in their code, and Stuxnet got its foot in the door because someone somewhere plugged in an infected USB drive. In every single one of these cases, the real vulnerability wasn't in the computer chips, it was in human error, process, and just plain old bad habits.
And that really brings us to our final thought here. Stuxnet proved that a digital attack can cause physical destruction. WannaCry proved it could bring a nation's healthcare system to its knees. The data breaches proved our very identities can be stolen and used against us. So the question we're left with is this. If these are the attacks of the past, what does the future of conflict even look like when the battlefield is literally everywhere and the weapons are completely invisible?